Okay, one more video for today, and now I'm back in the chronological survey, 18 point whatever. Coming down through stories, real famous stories from Genesis, Hebrew literature, the Torah, first book Genesis. We come to a story which I'll call Leah and Rachael, or you could call it Rachel and Leah. And very common girls' names. Amazingly, I once had a pair of girls, not in the same class I don't think, but they were sisters. And one of them was named Rachel and the other was named Leah. I'm almost certain. I was real surprised that considering the story. If you want to find a love story in Genesis, you might have some trouble, because the ideas of love back when that literature was being recorded are not the same as ours now. But you could make one out of this, because Jacob, he wanted to marry Rachel, and he wanted to marry her pretty bad. So he agreed to work for her father. It seems to me her father's name was Laban. I'm not sure about that. He agreed that he would work for Laban for 7 years in order to marry Rachel, and then he could. So he did this, and the 7 years passed. And then come the wedding day, the wedding went on, and then it was consummated that night. When the veil was lifted, surprise, it wasn't Rachel at all. Here it was Rachel's older sister, Leah, that had been put in instead. Jacob had married the wrong woman. Well, there was nothing to be done for it because the wedding had been consummated. But he wanted to marry Rachel, you know, it's one of those things nowadays. It would be against the law to have more than one wife, but at least here in the United States and Pennsylvania. But there's nothing in the Ten Commandments that said that a man could not have more than one wife if he could afford it. Anyway, he wanted to marry Rachel badly enough that he then worked for 7 more years for Laban, and eventually got to marry Rachel. To Leah, I believe he had 10 sons, and to Rachel, he had 2. And tomorrow I'll talk about that story, very, very famous story and an important story that develops among those sons. But anyway, these two, I don't know this literature as well as my wife does. I've read it, but I'd asked her, did these two get along? And she said, no, not really. And I think they were sisters. And here we've got sibling rivalry again. So still again, in Genesis, it's not limited to the brothers. Page 5.1 is epic themes. And there you'll find a sibling rivalry. And I'd like you to add Leah versus Rachel. I put a little VS. Leah versus Rachel as still another example. All right, now I think I am done for today. I hope to see you tomorrow.